Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto met a god during his training trip with Jiraiya? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start a new fanfic. Naruto, we will try to control the chakra of 9 tails. Are you ready? Jiraiya said to Naruto. Huh? Naruto looked in front of him in a daze. He saw a familiar face. He had seen this face many times, not in person but on TV. He was standing in front of the legendary Sannin, and his expression changed many times, from dazing to curious to understanding. Jiraiya see this. He had noticed something changed, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Maybe Naruto was tired of training. They were training from morning and now it is noon. Huh? Pervy sage, I am feeling tired. Can we start this training tomorrow? Naruto said, looking at Jiraiya. Okay, you can rest. We will start training 9 tails chakra tomorrow, Jiraiya said while looking at Naruto. You go to the inn, I will go to town for my research purpose, Jiraiya said while having a pervy look on his face. A small blood drop could be seen on his nose, and he was lost in the thought. No one knows what he was thinking. Maybe everyone knows what he was thinking. I know what you do in the name of research. You do whatever you want. I am going into the inn, Naruto said and walked towards the inn. Jiraiya looked at the back of Naruto and didn't think anything. He also turned in the direction of town, while having a big creepy smile on his face. Women in this town are average, but they will serve their purpose. Hee. Now let's go to pee. Ahem research. Saying this, Jiraiya went to the town. Back to Naruto. Naruto entered the inn and found his room. He slid the door and entered the room. The room was simple, a table to the waist while sitting in a bed, and a gray floor. This was a Japanese room for a stay. Naruto took a breath and let out a sigh. So I am really in the body of Naruto. That god really transmigrated me into Naruto. Naruto had a big smile on his face. This is what I really wanted. I really thank you Truck-kun for giving me this chance, and thank you God for sending me in Naruto verse. Naruto claps his hand and thanked the Truck-kun and the god. Now this is done, so I am training with Jiraiya. This is the time when Jiraiya took Naruto to 3 years of training, to deal with Akatsuki and find Sasuke. Ah Sasuke, let's focus on the problems in front of me, Naruto thought to himself. System, Naruto said in a whisper, and a black screen appeared in his mind. Host, please wait for some time. The host's soul is merging with the body. How much time it will take, and what happened to the original soul of Naruto? Naruto asked the system. Current merging 10%. Estimated time 2 hours. And for the original soul of Naruto, is used for the setup of the system. Is anyone know that I am not the real Naruto? Nah, no one is able to identify that you are not real Naruto, not Kurama, and not even the Sage of 6 Paths. So the boss of the game will not be able to find that I am not the real Naruto. That very good. And what about the memories of the real Naruto? The memories of the real Naruto will be in your mind after merging your soul with the body. Oh, so that's how is it? What about his feeling? Will they influence me? No. That's good. Now system, show me the real you. What I wish from God, Naruto said to system. Sorry host. This is not available for now. First, you have to merge your soul with the body. After that, you can fully access the system and whatever wish God gives you. Okay, so I have to wait for 2 hours. Affirmative. What should I do now? Naruto thought for a while, and looked around. Let's go outside, and watch the new world, what I desired. Naruto get up and exited the inn, and started to walk toward the town. He took a deep breath, feel the air around him, and smiled. This air is refreshing and pure, no wonder people here live long. He walked inside the town. There are many stalls, big and small, selling various types of goods. He looks in those stalls, and no one treated him badly, as shown in the anime. Maybe I am not in Konoha, Naruto thought to himself, and explores the town. 1 hour passed and a massage was heard in his head. Ding. Soul merging completed 50%. Estimated time, 1 hour. Naruto now could feel he has much control over his body, and some memories of Naruto's childhood starting to come back to him. This is not like I read in those fanfiction, all the memories came back at once and MC had a head-splitting pain in the head, Naruto thought to himself. Good for me. As Naruto walked into the town, he spotted a white-haired man peeping into the women's bathhouse through a small hole in the wall. In reality, he didn't personally know anyone in this world, but in a peculiar way, he knew everyone. Jiraiya was one of the characters he recognized. A smile graced his face as he quietly approached the man, standing beside him to peer into the bathhouse. Inside, he observed many women, their bodies obscured by steam as they rose from the bath. While things weren't entirely clear, they weren't so invisible that nothing could be seen. A woman entered, wearing only a towel. She discarded the towel and stepped into the water. They're big, Naruto commented while looking in. Yes, they are, Jiraiya unconsciously replied. After a moment, he realized that the voice was familiar. He turned his head and found a young boy with blonde hair and an orange outfit standing curiously next to him. Naruto, what are you doing here? He exclaimed. Speak softly, or they'll hear you, pervy sage. Or would you like me to call them? Naruto said with a grin. As for why I'm here, I got bored in the inn, so I'm wandering around town, Naruto explained. Naruto, go back to the inn. This isn't for children, Jiraiya said to Naruto while still looking at the bathhouse, not giving Naruto much attention. Naruto didn't respond and walked back to the inn. He knew Jiraiya was just teasing him. His real intention was to spend the 2 hours. As he made his way to the inn, another message appeared in his mind. Ding. Asterisk. Soul merging complete. 95%. Estimated time, 10 minutes. So, the time has come. This should be fun. He slid open the door to his room and sat on the floor, waiting for the estimated time to pass. Ding. Asterisk. Soul merging complete. 100%. As the message materialized in his mind, a rush of memories flooded Naruto's head, along with a slight headache. He was witnessing Naruto's memories, spanning from childhood to just 2 hours ago. These are Naruto's memories, rather pitiful ones. But don't worry, this is going to change soon, Naruto said to himself. He stretched his body. I feel like this is my real body now. I have complete control over it. Standing up from the floor, he moved to the bed, a smile gracing his face. System. Yes, host. Now, show me the actual panel and explain the system rules. Yes, host. There are 3 panels. 1. Status panel. Here you can track your progress. 2. Shop panel. Upgrade your skills and purchase affinities. 3. Reward panel. Earn points by altering the story. Each change you make earns you points. This is very convenient, Naruto said. Now, show me the rewards. Yes. Rewards from the god. 1. Bloodline purification. 2. Tool for absolute control over chakra. 3. System assistance. Naruto examined the reward panel and selected the first reward. These were the wishes he'd made to the god. 1. Bloodline purification. Bloodline. Uzumaki, 40%. This is the bloodline purification potion. Would the host like to consume it? Yes. Naruto confirmed. Affirmative. A red vial materialized before Naruto. Catching it in midair, he removed the cap and downed its contents in one gulp. Feels like honey, he mused. I don't feel any different. Hey, system, after my bloodline purification, will I be able to use adamantium chains, Uzumaki healing factor, and the mind's eye of the Kagura? Yes, you will. Good. Now, let's move on to my second reward, which happens to be my favorite. 2. Tool for absolute control over chakra. Name. 6 Eyes. This potion transforms your eyes into the 6 eyes. Would the host like to consume it? Absolutely. Give it to me. Upon his request, a vial of red potion appeared in his hand. Without hesitation, he uncapped it and drank the contents. Gulp. A sensation akin to needles piercing his eyes washed over him. Yet, in the next moment, the pain disappeared. I don't feel any different from before, Naruto commented. This will take time, host. No need to worry. Naruto felt a slight change in his body, not very noticeable but a slight tingling. Now I have all the affinities. What should I practice first? Naruto looked at his status. I can practice all of them later with my shadow clone. There is no need to ask Jiraiya to help with elemental training, but first I need Jiraiya to teach me what is he good at taijutsu and fuinjutsu. Let's go with taijutsu, Naruto thought to himself. He knew Jiraiya wasn't a good teacher. In 3 years, he only taught him taijutsu and Rasengan. Besides that, he hadn't taught him anything. Jiraiya was always peeping on women, and that's why Naruto never thought of him as a good teacher. Orochimaru and Tsunade had taught Sasuke and Sakura many things in comparison. Naruto stood up from the bed and now he stood in front of the mirror. He looked at his reflection, blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks on each side of his face. He wore an orange jumpsuit. He looked at the mirror closely and noticed a small red dot in his eyes, as small as the tip of a needle. He focused on his hair and saw 3 to 4 red hairs. So the effects have started. That's good for me, I'll be more handsome than before. Hee, an narcissistic bastard. He stood in front of the mirror, a malicious grin on his face. Let the fun begin. After admiring himself in the mirror, Naruto grinned and left the inn to find Jiraiya. He intended to master taijutsu first. I should master taijutsu from Jiraiya. Now that I'm in this world, I'll enjoy it to the fullest. I wonder how Naruto was so ignorant. He has Hashirama's prosthetic arm and Kurama inside him, yet he didn't master any nature transformation except wind, which he didn't even use. He only has shadow clones and variants of Rasengan. So much potential is wasted due to genuine ignorance. But it doesn't matter now that I'm here. I have all elemental affinities. With my 6 eyes, I will master them all. However, I have to wait 6 months to acquire them fully. In my pure Uzumaki bloodline, so much work, Naruto thought to himself. In a world filled with danger, his eyes held pure excitement rather than fear. He had always dreamt of this world, despite its dangers. He knew the butterfly effect would take place once he arrived, perhaps it had already begun. Did he care? No. He was mostly looking forward to it. In his previous life on Earth, he had read and even written numerous fanfictions, making his knowledge of chakra and this world unparalleled. The most important thing related to chakra is control. I need to practice chakra control. The better my control, the more proficient my overall powers will become. Due to my Uzumaki lineage and being a Jinchuriki, I possess chakra much greater than a normal shinobi of my age, Naruto thought. So, for these 6 months, I'll focus on improving my chakra control. As evening descended, Jiraiya hadn't returned from town. Naruto found himself back at the previous training ground. It's been 1.5 years since Jiraiya and I left the village to train, and I've learned nothing substantial apart from some taijutsu and a larger Rasengan. What a waste. Naruto sighed wearily. Let's begin with chakra control. Naruto retrieved a kunai from his pouch. Running his finger over it, he marveled, I never imagined holding a kunai in my hand. Naruto set other thoughts aside and concentrated on controlling the kunai on his fingertip. A blue strand of chakra extended from his finger, encasing the kunai in his palm. He skillfully moved it on his fingertip, realizing the challenge. Chakra control wasn't something he had practiced extensively, he had merely learned tree walking and water walking techniques. Over time, Naruto grew accustomed to controlling the kunai on his fingertip, even rotating it. It's not as difficult as I thought. Maybe my concentration plays a significant role here. Let's try with more kunai. Drawing 4 more kunai from his holder, Naruto set them to levitate above his open palm, one on each finger. Looking at the kunai array, Naruto exclaimed, "This is amazing. Let's accelerate the practice." The kunai began to rotate upside down. His concentration was intense, and sweat beads formed on his forehead. His eyes had a red glint, and the small dot within them grew slightly larger. Naruto was so engrossed in his training that he failed to notice the time. It was already night. The moonlight bathed the training ground, and Naruto, sitting on a stone in the middle of it, rotated 5 kunai at high speed. Unbeknownst to him, someone observed from a distance. Naruto seems different today. Perhaps he's matured and realized his responsibilities, Jiraiya contemplated, watching him from afar. He couldn't discern the details of Naruto's actions, only his silhouette. However, he sensed Naruto was up to something, and the thought pleased him. "Let's see what you're up to, brat." Ding. Host's mastery over 6 eyes has increased by 2%. Upon hearing the message from the system, Naruto smiled subtly. "So this is how I can increase my mastery over my eyes. It's different from other dojutsu. Using my eyes for chakra control improves my mastery until they are fully unlocked." That's good, Naruto thought. Suddenly aware of someone's presence nearby, Naruto ceased rotating the kunai and stowed them in his bag. "What are you doing, Naruto?" A voice behind him inquired. He recognized it immediately. "Just practicing chakra control. What brings you here, pervy sage?" Naruto turned to face Jiraiya, a playful grin on his face. "Not much. I checked your room and found it empty. Figured you'd be here," Jiraiya responded. Naruto stood up, securing the kunai in his holder. "Let's go, pervy sage. I'm hungry, you know." Jiraiya regarded him with a different look. "You've changed overnight. Gone is the loudmouth kid who used to run around shouting." Observing Jiraiya's gaze, Naruto teased, "Why the intense scrutiny? I know I'm handsome, but you don't have to look at me like that." Jiraiya was taken aback and regarded him strangely. "You've indeed changed. Something's different about you. Could it be the influence of Kyuubi?" "No, that's not possible. The seal is intact," Jiraiya pondered. Shrugging off the suspicion, Naruto reasoned, "He noticed that something's changed in me. It's clear that I can't act like that clueless idiot anymore. Plus, he wouldn't find anything amiss about me. Even if I stood in front of Hagoromo himself, he couldn't detect that I'm different, let alone Jiraiya." They walked into the inn and ordered food, taking their seats at a table. After finishing his meal, Naruto stood up and headed to his room. Jiraiya, looking at the now empty chair, mused, "Something's different. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's just my imagination." Lost in thought, he also rose and retreated to his own room. As the night descended, Naruto lay on his bed, thinking about something. "I am 14.5 years old, and I have only once met Kurama. It was when Jiraiya pushed me into the valley for summoning the toads," Naruto thought to himself while lying on his bed, watching the ceiling. "It's time to meet the nine-tails fox. Let's see what he wants. I am not as good at talk no jutsu as Naruto." Naruto closed his eyes and started to focus on the seal on his belly. As he focused on the seal, some tattoos started to appear on his stomach. Unknowingly, he was trying to get into the sealed space to meet Kurama. Naruto's vision shifted from the ceiling of his room to a dark tunnel. In this tunnel, there was dark water on the floor. He looked around in awe. Naruto started to walk ahead, observing the area around him. As he walked, the sound of water dripping started to echo in the area. When he looked at his feet, he noticed he was in the water but not wet. He soon reached a hall, and in front of him, he saw large iron bars with paper attached. The word, seal, was written on it. Naruto looked ahead and sensed a large amount of chakra behind bars. The sound of a beast breathing could be heard. As he looked through the bars, 2 red eyes the size of a human head snapped open, directly staring at him. A wave of killing intent spread around him, a mix of negative emotions and hatred. As the wave of killing intent hit him, sweat drops appeared on his forehead, and a chill ran down his spine. However, there was no fear in his eyes. This was not the previous Naruto who would be scared in front of the fox. The figure of the nine-tails fox started to appear in front of him. The fox was enormous, bigger than a mountain. Naruto was like an ant in front of him. The fox was red in color, and Naruto marveled at its beauty with a hint of excitement in his eyes. The fox noticed this and raised its eyebrows. Interesting, you are not as scared as when you first appeared in front of me, its voice echoed in the surroundings. Naruto looked at the majestic figure of the fox and said, "You are right, I am not scared of you." "Do you want my power, brat?" Kurama asked, intrigued by the behavior of the boy in front of him. "Yes, I want your power, but I know it's not free." "So, tell me what you want in return," Naruto replied. He knew that nothing in this world was free, and he understood Kurama's desires. The fox had been imprisoned for centuries, leading to its intense hatred. "If you want my power, just rip off the seal, and all my power will belong to you," Kurama tempted him, attempting to lure Naruto into his scheme. Naruto raised his eyebrows and smiled slightly. "Are you kidding me? I can see right through your intentions." Tch, Kurama sighed, realizing his attempt to deceive Naruto had failed. "How about a deal?" Naruto proposed. Kurama looked at him and moved closer to the bars, resting its head on its paw-like hands. "What deal do you want to propose? I know you want to be free from your cage. How about this? When I become powerful enough, I will give you the chance to break free. In return, you give me your chakra when I need it," Naruto suggested. He understood that he couldn't win Kurama's friendship through pity alone. He believed that over time, their bond would grow stronger, and Kurama would stand by his side. Naruto knew that Kurama was a proud being, much like himself. Naruto continued, "I'm sure that once we become friends, you won't abandon me. And I'll need your help to face the strong opponents out there." Kurama closed its eyes, weighing the pros and cons of the deal. It couldn't find any hidden agenda in Naruto's proposal. "Fine, you can use my chakra. But you must fulfill your end of the deal," Kurama agreed. "It's a promise, and I have never broken my promise," Naruto assured Kurama. He understood that people had portrayed Kurama as evil, but encountering the fox himself revealed a different side. Naruto could sense the loneliness in Kurama's eyes and its desire for companionship. Kurama's willingness to cooperate showed that it saw potential in Naruto. "If you want to use my chakra, you just need to slightly tear the paper on the seal. You can handle up to 4 taels worth of chakra without losing your sanity if I willingly provide it," Kurama instructed Naruto. It was preparing him for the long journey ahead. "That's fine," Naruto said. He approached the cage, lifted himself up, and slightly tore the paper from the corner. He was cautious not to tear the seal completely, as it could trigger Minato's intervention. Kurama retrieved its chakra as Naruto tore the seal. It didn't want to expose itself to the outside world or alert those nearby. Naruto saw this and smiled slightly, understanding Kurama's intention. As for the main key to open this cage, Minato entrusted the key to Jiraiya. Naruto was sure that a solution could be found. He anticipated that Minato would resist giving him the key, knowing that Naruto had changed and wouldn't blindly follow his commands anymore. He looked at Kurama, came near the cage, and raised his fist in the fox's direction. "Naruto Uzumaki." The fox saw this and raised its own fist, bumping it against Naruto's. "Kurama. I look forward to working with you, Kurama. Until then, goodbye for now," Naruto said, focusing his mental strength and fading away from his mindscape. He opened his eyes back in his bed. Kurama looked at the empty space in front of it and closed its eyes, whispering, "I look forward to it too." After dealing with Kurama, Naruto opened his eyes to find that morning had already arrived. He shielded his eyes from the sunlight and slowly opened them. "Ah, morning. Time to wake up," he murmured, blocking the sunlight from his face. He got out of bed and stretched his body. "I'm feeling refreshed." After stretching, he left his room and headed to the washroom for a refreshing shower. Emerging from the shower, he walked outside the inn. On his way out, he spotted Jiraiya waiting for him. Naruto looked at him and smiled. "Pervy sage, what are you doing up so early in the morning?" he asked. "Nothing much. Let's eat some breakfast and then start training," Jiraiya replied. Naruto nodded and followed him to a nearby restaurant. This time, they didn't order from the inn. After finishing their breakfast, they stood facing each other in the middle of a training ground. It was a simple area located outside of town in a small forest. The training ground was unremarkable, measuring 20 meters in radius, and surrounded by trees. Jiraiya and Naruto faced each other, their hair swaying in the cool morning breeze. The sun was just starting to rise, casting an orange hue that created a cozy atmosphere in the summer. "Naruto, today we're going to practice harnessing the Nine Tails chakra. Controlling this power will make you stronger," Jiraiya explained. Naruto nodded. "Alright, how are we going to practice?" "Simply put, you need to focus and try to enter your mindscape. Once there, attempt to draw out the Nine Tails chakra. However, be cautious. Tailed beast chakra can be harmful until you and the beast are in harmony. Don't draw out too much, though. Your body may not be able to handle it. And remember, losing control can lead to possession by the tailed beast, which would be difficult for me to handle." "Understand, Naruto," Jiraiya warned. "Yes, pervy sage, I understand. I'll master the Nine Tails chakra in no time," Naruto replied confidently. He was sure he could control the fox's chakra without any issues. He didn't reveal to Jiraiya that he had already made a deal with the Nine Tails. Jiraiya, not being a Jinchuriki, wouldn't be aware of how the inner workings of the seal functioned. Naruto closed his eyes and easily entered his mindscape. After tearing a small corner of the seal, entering his mindscape became much easier. He had also given Kurama some freedom within it so they could communicate more freely. Inside his mindscape, Naruto stood before the massive cage where Kurama lazily rested. When he sensed Naruto's presence, Kurama opened his big red eyes. "Hey, Kurama, how's it going?" Naruto greeted him. "What do you want, brat?" Kurama responded lazily. "Could you give me some of your chakra?" Naruto asked. Kurama was a vast well of chakra. Leaking out some wouldn't even be noticeable to him, as his chakra would replenish quickly. Tailed beasts never truly ran out of chakra. Once depleted, they would recover over time. Kurama could easily leak chakra from the cage without any issues, and this seal was designed for Naruto to use Nine Tails chakra. Kurama looked at Naruto and sighed. "Fine, I'll leak out some chakra. Just remember that the amount you can handle depends on you." Kurama started to leak chakra, causing red bubbles to emerge from the cage. Naruto thanked Kurama for cooperating. Kurama could leak chakra in any manner he wished from within the cage, it didn't bother him. This small amount of chakra was negligible compared to his overall chakra reserves. Furthermore, this seal was designed specifically for Naruto to use Nine Tails chakra. Naruto opened his eyes, his body enveloped in red chakra. His eyes turned red with vertical slits, and his whisker marks became more pronounced. Sensations around him became sharper. He could hear more clearly and see more vividly. Although he hadn't yet formed chakra tails behind him, Naruto looked at the chakra before him and focused intently. He concentrated on understanding the differences between human and tailed beast chakra. He delved into the characteristics of Kurama's chakra. It was more potent and unstable to control. It possessed exceptional healing properties and could affect the user's mind if not properly managed. Naruto found himself particularly focused on this aspect, which many Jinchuriki struggled with. As he felt the effects of the chakra and its potential to influence his mind, Naruto dedicated his attention to understanding and controlling this aspect. Many Jinchuriki couldn't think clearly when using tailed beast chakra due to forcibly extracting the chakra, a lack of cooperation from the tailed beast, and a lack of understanding of the chakra's properties. The fear of the tailed beast overtaking their bodies led to anxiety and a loss of sanity during use. The more powerful the tailed beast, the stronger the potency and corrupting influence of the chakra. This often resulted in the tailed beast taking control or the user willingly giving in to the beast's influence. Certain seals exacerbated these effects. Gaara's seal, for instance, was weaker, allowing the tailed beast more control. Jinchuriki like Gaara might find themselves unable to sleep as their tailed beast resisted slumber, fearing it would escape and rampage until a powerful individual quelled it. It would then require someone like Gaara to regain consciousness. This was how the dynamic functioned. After the red chakra manifested on his body, he was calm, trying to understand the properties of this red chakra. The small red dot in his eyes had a glow as Naruto focused on the chakra. It was relatively easy for him. After some focused effort, he could differentiate the chakra. It was a mixture of many properties. First, he started to focus on the properties that were slowly beginning to corrupt his mind. This was the most harmful chakra. He slowly and surely started to understand this chakra, and his mind began to clear. After some time, he started to pull out more chakra from the seal, and slowly one tail started to manifest behind him. He began to focus more on the chakra, and the red dot started to become slightly larger than before. His mastery over his 6 eyes began to increase. After the first tail manifested, his mind remained as clear as water. He continued to pull out more and more chakra, and soon 3 tails were manifested. This time, the potency of the chakra was very high, and the chakra cloak was more saturated. Naruto was barely visible, and his mind was not as clear as before. Negative emotions started to fill his mind, and a primal desire to destroy everything began to take root in his heart. However, after seeing this, he didn't panic, nor was he scared. He knew that Kurama was not doing this on purpose, it was the nature of his chakra. So, he put aside all his thoughts and started to focus more on the negative chakra of Kurama. And soon, he started to feel that his mind was beginning to clear, and the dot in his eyes was glowing more vigorously, indicating that he was using his 6 eyes to have better control over the chakra. The eyes were not controlling his chakra, they were just displaying the different properties of Kurama's chakra. Now, he could clearly differentiate between the negative chakra of Kurama and the other properties of his chakra. After establishing a clear difference in chakra, he focused on the negative chakra and began to control it more proficiently. Soon enough, he regained his clear mind. He knew he could not proceed to 4 tails because if he did, he was sure he would lose his mind and destroy everything in his path. So, he stopped at 3 tails and continued to control Kurama's negative chakra more efficiently. Jiraiya was looking at him and had a paper seal in his hand. He was ready if Naruto lost control, he would put this seal on his head to suppress the 9 tails chakra. He was dumbfounded when he noticed that Naruto never lost his mind, and he didn't need his help to suppress the 9 tails chakra. He didn't know how to feel. Is it that easy to control the chakra of the 9 tails? No, this is not possible. Maybe Naruto is special, but how did he control the hatred of the beast? It was not that easy. Something is missing. The look on Naruto's face was too calm. Jiraiya looked at Naruto. Inside the cage, Kurama was also looking at this. He was somehow conflicted. How can he control my chakra that easily? I could feel that my chakra started to affect his mind, but soon he somehow controlled that specific part of my chakra. Does he know how to differentiate my chakra? But how? This is not possible unless you have a vast amount of experience in sensing my chakra. To be able to differentiate my chakra, what about other properties like healing and yang chakra that are mixed in my chakra? Can he also differentiate that? When he comes back, I will ask him, Kurama thought to himself and closed his eyes, not interfering with Naruto, letting him do what he wanted. With Naruto, he was now familiarizing himself with the negative chakra of Kurama. After some time, When he knew he could control up to 3 tails easily, he grinned and looked at the stupefied face of Jiraiya, asking, "What do you think about it, pervy sage?" While looking at his palm, closing, and opening it. "It's better than what I thought," Jiraiya said, expressing what he was feeling. He himself didn't know what he was feeling. In his wildest dreams, he didn't think that Naruto would be able to control up to 3 tails perfectly in his first attempt. He thought that in these 3 years, he would teach Naruto how to control the 9 tails chakra up to the 4th tail. But looking in front of him, the 3 tails chakra was controlled perfectly, not even a single bit of Naruto's mind was corrupted. He could tell just by looking in his eyes, they were not the eyes of a naive and innocent child. They were brimming with confidence and something more hidden beneath them that he could not understand. How could someone change in a single day? I don't know if this is for the better or worse, Jiraiya thought to himself. After hearing what Naruto said, he took a stance ready to fight him. Upon seeing Jiraiya's fighting stance, Naruto prepared himself. Naruto leapt at his maximum speed, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Jiraiya. He threw a punch at Jiraiya's chest, but due to the height difference, Jiraiya didn't panic at this high speed. He sidestepped and aimed a punch at Naruto's guts. To his surprise, Naruto caught his punch in front of his abdomen. With the force behind the punch, Naruto slightly jumped, and when the punch hit his hand, he shot backward like a cannon and flipped into the midair, landing safely on the ground. Seeing this, Jiraiya was shocked. He knew that Naruto would have blocked his punch, but not in this style. Naruto had used the force behind Jiraiya's punch to distance himself safely, which was a good tactic in Jiraiya's book. Jiraiya also grinned and jumped toward Naruto. Seeing the speed of Jiraiya, Naruto focused himself. Jiraiya kicked directly toward his head, but Naruto ducked and jumped away from him. However, Jiraiya didn't earn the title of Sannin for nothing. He had expected this from Naruto and was already in front of him, punching directly at his chest. Naruto didn't have time to dodge, so he crossed his arms in front of his chest, protecting himself from the punch. After their punches connected, the shockwaves destroyed the ground beneath them. Naruto was sent flying and hit the ground with his body. He quickly got up, ready to continue the fight at any moment. When Jiraiya looked at his hand, he saw that it was burnt. The Kyuubi's chakra is really harmful, Jiraiya thought, but he ignored it and leapt towards Naruto. They started to exchange punches and kicks one after another, and with each collision, the ground beneath them cracked. They were moving very fast, and if an ordinary human saw them, all they would see were blurs, one red and the other white. Slowly, Naruto started to have a firm grasp over Kurama's chakra, predicting Jiraiya's moves better than before. His mind was clear, and he also started to have fun. This was his first battle, and it was at a very high level. He could feel that he was enjoying every second of this fight and had a smile on his face. With each move, he was getting better and better. He could feel that his body was made for fighting, and he was truly enjoying it. Seeing this, Jiraiya had a complicated feeling in his heart. He could sense that Naruto was improving with every move. He knew that he was not using his full power, but slowly, Naruto was catching up with him. On the other hand, Naruto had opened all of his mind in this fight, and he could see this from his memories. Previously, Naruto didn't use his brain, he relied on his instincts and didn't improve much. He had one mindset: defeating his enemies by using shadow clones to outnumber them and defeat them. He didn't have the mindset of improving himself, his sole focus was defeating his enemy, and that's where he lacked. After reviewing all his fighting memories, Naruto could see his shortcomings. Previously, Naruto didn't try to learn new moves, he shut off his mind and used just his shadow clones, relying on body instincts. That's where he made mistakes, but now Naruto was improving with each and every move. Seeing that Naruto was about to gain the upper hand, Jiraiya suddenly changed his tactics. When Naruto came near him, he twisted his body and caught Naruto's wrist. He knew his hand was going to be slightly burned by the Kyuubi's chakra, but he didn't care. With his other hand, Jiraiya manifested a Rasengan, and directly slammed it into Naruto's chest. With a loud bang, Naruto hit the ground and formed a large crater. He lay in the middle of it. The chakra cloak dispersed, and he lay on the ground with a wound on his chest. Blood came out from his mouth, but he didn't seem to react to the pain or the wound. He had a bloody smile on his face. This was awesome, and the last move was even more awesome, Naruto thought to himself. After realizing that he had gotten carried away in the fight, Jiraiya cursed himself. He came near Naruto, picked him up, and asked, "Are you okay?" Naruto looked at him with an expression that said, "Do I look okay to you?" After realizing this, Jiraiya didn't say anything and carried him to the inn, saying, "Rest well, Naruto. You fought great today. After you've healed, we will continue our training." Naruto didn't say anything, just nodded, and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Naruto lay on his bed, still feeling the effects of his recent battle with Jiraiya. As he observed his wounds healing slowly, he couldn't help but be intrigued by the process. Maybe the Kurama's chakra unconsciously leaks out from the seal and heals my wounds, he pondered aloud. And I am an Uzumaki, so the healing factor is top-notch. Although previously the Uzumaki genes were suppressed 60%, the reason I don't know, that 40% of Uzumaki genes were enough for me to completely heal any injuries. But now, the purification of my bloodline has started. It will be easier for me to heal any injuries. In the future, when my bloodline purification is complete, I won't have to worry about any injuries. And in addition, I have Kurama's chakra. Hehe. This is the best. The red dot in Naruto's eyes had grown slightly larger than before. The transformation was gradual, and it would take time for his eyes to manifest in their full glory. However, it remained unnoticeable to anyone who didn't pay close attention to it. As Naruto focused all his attention on his wound, his eyes flashed with a red light. He could see the tissues reforming themselves, and he delved deeper into the process. He wanted to understand how his body worked, particularly his healing factor. In his vision, he observed two different forms of chakra, both in red color. These chakras merged with the cells and generated new ones. Many cells came together to form tissues. The first form of chakra was Kurama's, and the second was his own. Naruto's chakra possessed inherent healing properties. When his body sustained injuries, his chakra, specifically imbued with healing properties, separated from his regular chakra and initiated the healing process. This mechanism was ingrained in his DNA, and it operated subconsciously. In contrast, ordinary people lacked healing properties in their chakra. When they suffered injuries, their bodies produced cells to heal, but their chakra didn't possess these unique healing abilities. This was the reason why regular individuals took weeks, not just a single night, to fully heal. The unique healing properties Naruto possessed were indeed a rare gift found only in the Senju and Uzumaki clans. These properties were encoded in their DNA, allowing them to subconsciously separate the healing chakra from their regular chakra. This separated chakra then initiated the production of new cells, facilitating the rapid healing of their bodies. Not even the Uchiha and Hyuga clans had access to this remarkable ability. In contrast, medical ninjutsu operated differently. Users of medical ninjutsu required an exceptionally high level of chakra control. By combining normal chakra with extreme control and infusing it with the yang element, they could produce healing chakra. This healing chakra accelerated the body's natural healing processes in an injured individual, without any reliance on the patient's own chakra. It was a distinct and powerful form of healing, separate from Naruto's innate healing factor. The second chakra source that Naruto observed during the healing process was from Kurama. Like his own chakra, Kurama's chakra also exhibited the property of generating new cells and healing. It was another remarkable aspect of Kurama's chakra, which had this innate regenerative ability. Naruto remained completely immersed in the healing process, losing track of time. When he finally checked his chest wound, he found it had healed completely. Not a single scratch remained. So that's how it is, my own chakra possesses the properties of healing. If I can learn to control this aspect of my chakra and accelerate it, I won't need Kurama's chakra for healing anymore, Naruto mused. He considered the possibility that Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, had discovered a similar property in his own chakra, allowing him to heal during battles. It might have been the reason behind his exceptional healing abilities, distinct from medical ninjutsu. Naruto's excitement grew as he contemplated the idea of mastering the healing properties of his chakra to the extreme. He believed that the possession of superior genes played a crucial role in a ninja's journey to climb higher in the ninja world. Naruto rose from his bed and made his way out of his room, determination evident in his stride. Let's practice another broken jutsu. I've had many theories about this, Naruto muttered to himself. As he reached his training ground, he observed that it had been fully restored, devoid of any signs of yesterday's battle. Naruto couldn't help but speculate, maybe Jiraiya had used Earth-style jutsu. Well, it's better for me. Naruto retrieved a wooden log from the training ground, and there were plenty of them scattered around due to yesterday's battle, which had led to the destruction of many trees. With his memories guiding him, Naruto swiftly performed a series of hand signs. In a puff of smoke, he executed the substitution jutsu, and he was instantly replaced by the wooden log. Now, in his place, there was only the wooden log. As Naruto considered the simplicity of the substitution jutsu, an E-rank technique taught in the academy, he couldn't help but shake his head in disbelief. How can they not use this broken jutsu efficiently? This is like teleporting to another location. It's the jutsu taught in the academy, and everyone knows this, he remarked. Naruto executed the substitution jutsu once more, using the same hand signs. With a puff of smoke, he swiftly substituted himself with a wooden log and reappeared in his previous location. This jutsu doesn't even require massive chakra, just a negligible amount. Even an academy student could perform it. The chakra requirement is minimal. Let's reverse engineer this jutsu and understand it in depth, Naruto muttered to himself. Unraveling the intricacies of the jutsu, Naruto repeated the process numerous times. In half an hour, he successfully executed the substitution jutsu 100 times, a satisfied smile gracing his face. Naruto stood on the training ground, deep in thought. So this is how it works, he murmured as he unraveled the mechanics of the substitution jutsu. With a series of hand signs, the jutsu created two empty holes in space and swapped their positions. The first step is that the user has to sense the object they're going to substitute with. Then, with the appropriate hand signs, they perform the jutsu. In a puff of smoke, they switch places with the chosen object. In the space between these two holes in space, a space tunnel is formed, and the object and person travel through this tunnel. It happens so fast that normal shinobi couldn't see it. Obviously, I couldn't see it initially either. After performing the jutsu more than 100 times, he had honed his understanding of it to the point where he could feel the ripples in space with his 6 eyes. Normal shinobi had the ability to sense their surroundings within a range of up to 20 meters, making it possible for them to detect larger objects like wooden logs and people. Consequently, they could substitute themselves into an area roughly 20 meters or slightly more from their original position. Naruto couldn't help but wonder why sensor ninjas, who possessed advanced sensory abilities, didn't make greater use of this jutsu. It seemed that as shinobi became stronger, they might overlook the fundamentals. I am a sensor ninja, so I should be able to perform this jutsu much more effectively than others, Naruto noted to himself. I will elevate this jutsu to the level of an S-rank technique. But first, let's address the issue of the smoke it produces. The smoke is the result of poor chakra control in the jutsu. When the jutsu is performed, we expel chakra from our tenketsu points, and the excess chakra not used in the jutsu disperses into the air, creating smoke. Let's rectify this problem and elevate my chakra control to another level. With full focus, he surveyed the training ground, where numerous logs lay scattered on the ground. Closing his eyes, he expanded his senses to encompass every wooden log within his surroundings. He pinpointed each one simultaneously, ready to perform the substitution jutsu. There was an increasing amount of smoke enveloping the training ground as Naruto delved into continuous practice. His hands moved in a blur, executing hand signs with incredible speed. There was no pause between repetitions. Naruto executed the substitution jutsu one after the other without respite. In less than 40 minutes, he had already performed the jutsu a staggering 300 times. The smoke that had filled the area was dissipating rapidly. Naruto's chakra molding into pathways became second nature to him as he honed his control. He knew that the next step in mastering the jutsu involved performing it without relying on hand signs. This required a deep understanding of the chakra's flow and manipulating it with pure thought. Alternatively, he could reverse engineer the jutsu, creating his own custom hand signs to execute it subconsciously. Naruto had already delved deeply into every aspect of the substitution jutsu. Now, he was in the process of crafting his unique hand sign for this jutsu, one that only he would be able to use. After diligently practicing the substitution jutsu for a continuous span of 2 hours, he had lost count of the number of times he had executed the technique. Nevertheless, he had managed to master it to the extent that he could perform it seamlessly without the need for hand signs. The morning had arrived, with the sun beginning its ascent on the horizon. The gentle rays of orange sunlight bathed the earth, trees, and sky, imparting a breathtakingly beautiful and pristine quality to the scenery before him. The serene ambiance was enhanced by the cool morning breeze, which playfully tousled his hair, causing it to sway in all directions. It was an idyllic atmosphere, and Naruto basked in its comfort. This is what I adore. The air feels so untainted, and its caress upon my skin brings tranquility to my mind, Naruto whispered to himself. During this moment, a presence roused his awareness from a distance of approximately 100 meters. Having refrained from deactivating his sensory abilities, he was still attuned to his surroundings. As he maintained his vigil, the individual in question gradually drew closer to the training ground. It turned out to be none other than Jiraiya. Hey, Naruto, you're up early this morning. What brings you here all alone? Practicing some techniques. Jiraiya inquired as his gaze swept across the training logs. His initial shock had stemmed from not finding Naruto in his room. Typically, he would have roused him for their training sessions. However, today was different. Naruto was absent from his quarters. Reflecting on Naruto's recent behavior, Jiraiya deduced his whereabouts and subsequently headed to the training ground. There, he discovered Naruto gazing contemplatively at the rising sun. Yes, pervy sage, I just practicing basics, so now you are here, let's train my taijutsu, Naruto said to Jiraiya. Jiraiya nodded in acknowledgement of Naruto's presence and assumed a combat-ready posture. I won't tap into the Nine Tails chakra, Naruto declared to Jiraiya, making his intentions clear. Why's that? Jiraiya inquired, his curiosity piqued. The purpose of their training journey was to help Naruto harness the power of the Nine Tails chakra, enabling him to confront the Akatsuki members directly. The fact that Naruto was declining to utilize this potent resource was perplexing. Jiraiya couldn't help but shake his head, resigning himself to the situation, and then he positioned himself in a fighting stance. Seeing this, Naruto also took the stance, because I will improve by myself, said Naruto to Jiraiya's previous question. They propelled themselves towards one another, bridging the distance swiftly, and initiated an exchange of techniques. It was evident that Naruto found himself in a somewhat disadvantaged position, yet he harbored no concerns about it. Instead, he wholeheartedly engaged in the skirmish with Jiraiya, fully immersing himself in the rhythm of their combat. As time passed, soon the noon came, and they stopped their training. "Let's call it a day," Jiraiya proposed, signaling the end of their sparring session. He directed his words to Naruto while commending his progress. The Sannin acknowledged Naruto's considerable improvement in their combat practice. Jiraiya's praise came with genuine admiration, as he marveled at the pace at which Naruto was assimilating the intricacies of their exchanges. The thought that Naruto could potentially surpass him in taijutsu within a year crossed Jiraiya's mind, further reflecting his astonishment at Naruto's remarkable aptitude. Naruto directed his gaze towards Jiraiya, a spirited expression on his face. "All right, pervy sage, let's call it a day," he responded, punctuating his words with a hearty chuckle. "Hee, I'll outdo you sooner than you think. Feel free to get back to your research," Naruto added, a playful tone underscoring his statement. However, beneath his external demeanor, a resolute determination burned within him. Unspoken thoughts echoed inwardly, "Not only you, but every shinobi in this world, I'll surpass them all." Seeing his confident face, Jiraiya sighed and took off leave and toward the town. "This brat changing so fast," thought Jiraiya, and smiled while thinking about his research. Once Jiraiya had left the area, Naruto fully extended his sensory abilities, broadening his perception radius to encompass a range of 500 meters in all directions. With this heightened awareness, he could detect the presence of anyone emanating chakra within that radius. Concentrating on his sensing capabilities, he focused his attention on a specific wooded log positioned approximately 400 meters away from his current location. Employing a hand sign, he channeled chakra into the technique, resulting in a small puff of smoke. In an instant, Naruto vanished from his original position, leaving in his wake a mere wooden log that materialized and descended to the ground with a muted thud. Naruto surveyed his surroundings with a pleased expression, a sense of triumph coloring his features. "As I suspected, as long as I can project my senses onto an object and execute the jutsu, I can substitute myself with it. All I need to do is extend my sensory reach," Naruto mused within the confines of his thoughts. His diligent practice and unwavering determination had borne fruit, and he found himself gratified by the results. After devoting considerable effort and intellectual exertion, Naruto's attention shifted to a more pressing matter: his hunger. The forest provided an opportune hunting ground, and sure enough, within his enhanced sensory field, he detected the presence of a boar. Seizing this chance, Naruto embarked on a hunt. Soon thereafter, he sat perched upon a stone, a roasted piece of meat clutched in his hand, savoring a moment of tranquil satisfaction as he indulged in his meal. With his appetite satiated, Naruto's mind turned to a playful notion. "Now that I'm full, it's time to execute my signature move," he thought to himself. Stretching out his right hand, Naruto conjured a rapidly rotating sphere of chakra within his grasp. The surrounding air seemed to be drawn into the vortex of energy, creating a whirlwind effect. He focused his intent on the formation of the jutsu. His grin widened. Naruto gazed at the swirling chakra sphere he had created. "This technique packs quite a punch," he muttered with a mixture of confidence and enthusiasm. With his words echoing through the air, Naruto channeled the power into action. In a burst of motion, he directed the Rasengan towards a nearby stone, the energy within it intensifying. As the Rasengan connected with the stone's surface, a violent collision ensued, resulting in the pulverization of the rock into countless fragments. The display of raw power left Naruto both impressed and satisfied, his smile reflecting his triumphant accomplishment. "This is impressive, but I need to delve into its mechanics to truly grasp its potential and enhance its power," Naruto thought to himself. He reminisced about his initial encounter with the Rasengan. Back then, he had followed the training manual to execute the jutsu without fully comprehending its underlying principles. Now, however, he was determined to unravel its secrets and optimize its capabilities. As he contemplated the task ahead, Naruto's grin widened. He recognized that the Rasengan was classified as an A-rank jutsu in its current form. The prospect of enhancing this technique to an even greater degree was both enticing and exciting. Time to dismantle this puzzle and rebuild it step by step, Naruto remarked playfully. With a mischievous chuckle, he declared his intention: I'm going to turn this A-rank jutsu into an S-rank powerhouse, even in its incomplete state. This is going to be a blast. The Rasengan stood as the pinnacle of shape manipulation in the realm of jutsu. Its inception could be attributed to Minato Namikaze, who had drawn inspiration from witnessing the sheer might of the tailed beast bomb. Naruto's undivided attention honed in on his palm, a crimson hue suffusing his eyes, signifying the utilization of his 6 eyes. The minuscule dots within his eyes gradually expanded, an indicator that the development of his coveted 6 eyes was well underway. As he concentrated, a surge of chakra emanated from his palm, materializing into a diminutive white sphere poised above his hand. This sphere was to serve as the foundation for his Rasengan's construction. Chakra continued to flow forth from Naruto's palm, yet this time it fragmented into an intricate network of delicate strands, akin to gossamer threads. Thousands of these minute chakra strings spiraled around the initial sphere in a synchronized clockwise motion. A first layer had taken shape, revolving around the core with exceptional velocity. This orchestrated dance of chakra strands marked the inception of the Rasengan's assembly. With the momentum building, an additional surge of chakra surged forth from Naruto's palm. Similar to before, this influx of chakra splintered into an intricate array of countless strands, each as delicate as the last. These strands, however, took on a different path than their predecessors, revolving in a unified anti-clockwise motion. This complex choreography manifested as a second layer enveloping the initial construct. The clockwise rotation of the first layer juxtaposed against the anti-clockwise spin of the second. The gap between the 2 layers measured a precise and deliberate 3 millimeters. This meticulous assembly signified an intricate dance of chakra, all in service of refining the Rasengan's potency. The intricate dance of chakra continued as Naruto channeled more of his energy through his palm. Once again, this chakra fractured into innumerable strands, each one possessing a delicate, almost ethereal quality. This time, the chakra strands followed a new trajectory, spinning downward in unison above the second layer. A third layer took shape, mirroring the rotation of the first layer and remaining at a consistent distance of 3 millimeters above the second layer. Simultaneously, a fourth layer emerged above the third, but its rotation differed, ascending in opposition to the third layer's descent. This intricate sequence marked the completion of the first part of the Rasengan. 4 layers, each spinning in opposition to its adjacent layer, collectively formed a compact structure with a radius of 16 millimeters. This intricate process was repeated once more, resulting in the creation of another set of 4 layers. These layered formations were then duplicated again to yield a third set. Ultimately, this intricate symphony of chakra manipulations culminated in the completion of the foundational Rasengan. The intricate amalgamation of layers spun in contrasting directions, achieving the desired effect and forming a complex structure that demonstrated Naruto's mastery over shape manipulation. In the fundamental configuration of the Rasengan, 3 sets of 4 layers materialized, each layer countering the spin of its counterpart. The interval between these layers remained consistently at 3 millimeters, and the diameter of chakra strands composing them was 1 millimeter, resulting in an overall radius of 48 millimeters, equivalent to almost 5 centimeters. As the final set of 3 layers completed their formation, the Rasengan solidified into its iconic spherical shape. This intricate process transpired within a mere 6 seconds, a testament to Naruto's refined control over his chakra manipulation abilities. Utilizing his 6 eyes, he observed this process unfold in intricate detail, glimpsing the inner mechanisms of the Rasengan. He acknowledged that his current visual prowess only allowed him to perceive objects with a diameter of up to 1 millimeter within a range of 1 meter. While this capability was a mere fraction of what his full-eye potential would eventually grant him, it was sufficient for his current purpose, understanding the composition of the Rasengan. Naruto recognized the astounding potential of his 6 eyes, capable of discerning atomic structures at the nanometer scale. This ability could grant him unparalleled mastery over various elements by understanding their fundamental makeup. However, at this juncture, he was content with the insight he gained into the Rasengan's intricacies. The Rasengan's size and power could be further manipulated by varying the number of layers created, with potential applications spanning from millimeters to meters, dependent on the user's skill and intent. The outer layers of Rasengan spin at the same speed as the inner layer, and the gap between them is 3 millimeters. As the radius increases, the time of completion of the rotation is reduced, because of the distance, and as the distance increases, the time of rotation is decreased. This is how it looked from the outside. That's why the outer layers of Rasengan seem slow in speed in comparison to the inner layers of Rasengan. That is the reason why the Rasengan looks beautiful. All layers seem to have different speeds, but in reality, the speed of every layer is the same. If the speed of some layers is increased and some have decreased, the jutsu will be collapsed. That's why the speed should be same of each layer to maintain the jutsu. This is the hardest part of Rasengan. And if you want to increase the size of Rasengan, you have to create 4 times more layers to maintain the Rasengan. It's like this: the basic Rasengan is almost 10 centimeters in diameter. If Naruto wants to increase its size, he had to increase its size to 40 centimeters, and if he wants to increase more, he has to 160 centimeters in size, if he wants to maintain it. If you want to decrease its size, you have to change the complete structure of Rasengan. You have to decrease the distance between layers from 3 millimeters to less, and it is challenging. In the basic Rasengan, there is a gap of 3 millimeters in each layer. Normal people couldn't see this. Maybe Byakugan can see this, but they don't use Rasengan. The gap between layers is the reason for the incompletion of Rasengan. If someone wants to complete the Rasengan, he had to fill the gap between layers. And here comes chakra nature transformation. If someone can fill the gap between the layers with their chakra nature transformation, like wind, water, or any other, then the jutsu will be completed. But this is near to impossible for anyone. First, they have to master their element to a certain degree that their chakra didn't disturb the original Rasengan, and then they have to fill their element into the Rasengan, but it is near to impossible. The genius like Kakashi wasn't able to complete this jutsu, and due to failure he created Chidori, and for Naruto, he had an army of clones, and he trains for months. Means for ordinary people it will the year's training. And he had to accompany 2 more clones to complete the jutsu. But is different now for Naruto. He could see the inner working of the Rasengan and know where he had to insert his elemental chakra, not like mindless men who tries north time to find the real amount and place for their elemental chakra. Everything was in front of him. He could see the gaps between the layers. He just has to master his elements and insert them in the right place, and the jutsu will be complete. After analyzing Rasengan and thinking so much, so this is why it is called the principle of the shape manipulation. My father, you were the genius, Naruto thought to himself. It has some problems, like it can only maintain in my palm, I cannot throw it. Hehe. I have an excellent idea. What if I compress the Rasengan to the point that the gap of 3 millimeters is minimized to 1 millimeter? And increased its spinning speed much more, so the power of this compressed Rasengan will be on par with Rasenshuriken. It will truly be an S-rank jutsu, and the speed of shooting will at cage level, but I will not be able to add elemental chakra into it, because there will be no gap between the layers. The gap of 1 millimeter is negligible. This jutsu will be completer on its own. Hehe, I am such a genius, Naruto said with a fox-like grin. He stood up and started practicing his normal Rasengan to its full potential. Naruto practiced his Rasengan in both of his hands. As the night descended, both of his hands had scratches due to extreme practice of Rasengan. Naruto, He heard a voice in his head. Naruto was now sitting on a stone after practicing till night. When he heard this voice in his head, he smiled and closed his eyes and soon appeared in front of the big cage where Kurama was looking at him, his two big red eyes piercing directly into Naruto's. Naruto saw this. He was in front of Kurama. He just looks at him with a pensive expression, and then he spoke, "What's up, Kurama? Why do you call me?" Kurama grumped at him and spoke, "How do you able to control my chakras so easily? It's like you differentiate my chakras characteristics and only control my negative chakra from affecting your mind. Now tell me, how do you do it?" Kurama spoke to him. There was demand or anything, just pure curiosity. Naruto looked at him and speak, "Oh, so that's why you call me, hee. Look at my eyes." He pointed his two fingers towards his eyes. "There is no element or form of chakra that can hide from my eyes." Naruto speak in amusement. He was prideful of his eyes. He knows how broken his eyes were once they fully manifest. Kurama looked at his eyes and could see the red dot in his eyes. He scanned him completely and he could see many changes in him. First, when he looked at his hair, there were more red hair from before. Yesterday only 4 to 5 hairs were red, but today there minimum 10 to 15 red hairs. And second, his chakra pools are slightly bigger than yesterday and his vitality had also increased. Kurama could feel now more similarities to his previous Jinchuriki. He was like, he is becoming more and more Uzumaki with every passing time, as this the bloodline purification. And so why did this start now? Not from birth, and how could he differentiate my chakra properties? There are his eyes, they were also giving more energy than normal eyes. This a dojutsu that is in the stage of development. Kurama collected all his thought and come to a conclusion. There were many mysterious things in this world, and maybe this was one of them. He also looking forward to it. Where is this brat can go? I have a small request for you. Naruto speaks when Kurama collected his thoughts. What do you want? Kurama spoke, his voice echoed in the sealed space. I want you to send your negative chakra to my mind continuously and retrieve your healing chakra from my body. Naruto speak to Kurama. He was sure that he could fully control the healing chakra in his body and could be able to heal injuries subconsciously once he stated to practicing his healing chakra. And there was Kurama's healing chakra would help him, but he didn't want this. He wants to control his own Uzumaki healing chakra to the extreme that he can rival Hashirama Senju in healing. That why he requested to retrieve Kurama's chakra from his body. If I continuously send my negative chakra, you will go berserk. If you couldn't able to perfectly control my chakra, are you sure about it? Kurama asked him. Of course I am sure. What do you think how I was able to control your chakra in clock mode on my first try up to 3 tails without losing my mind? You know I want to train my mind and chakra control to the extreme so I will be able to use your mini-tailed beast form, without losing my mind up to 8 tails, Naruto said in just matter-of-fact tone. Kurama looked at him like, are you kidding me? He sighs then. He know that the clansmen of the Uzumaki clan were stubborn as hell. Okay fine, I will retrieve my chakra from your body and send my negative chakra to your body continuously, Kurama speak to him. Naruto nodded to him. After some time he remembered something, started to look at Kurama, and suddenly speak, you are not complete. When Kurama heard this, he was taken aback. Looking directly into his eyes he asked, how do you know that? Naruto smiled mysteriously, his cerulean eyes gleaming with curiosity as he pointed to them. He spoke softly, I told you before, I can identify all the chakra natures. His gaze remained fixed on Kurama, whose crimson eyes met Naruto's. You seem to be composed of only one element, to be precise, the yang element. Naruto leaned in a bit closer, his expression mischievous. I know that every being is a mixture of yin and yang, but I can only sense the yang element emanating from you, he spoke. Naruto's eyes flickered with a faint, azure light as if his chakra senses were at work. I already knew that Kurama was made of the yang element, with his other half sealed within Minato, and now residing in the belly of the Shinigami. I want to identify the yang element so that I can later use it perfectly. With all the elemental affinities at his disposal, he hoped that when the time came to use the yang element, he could harness it in a way that would resemble the very essence of Kurama's yang chakra, making it easier for him. Naruto could not use genjutsu previously due to his poor chakra control and lack of motivation. But now that he had the means to use genjutsu, he was determined to utilize it to its fullest potential. To employ genjutsu effectively, one had to use yin chakra. Naruto had always been fascinated by genjutsu, no one had fully explored its true capabilities. With genjutsu, you could alter reality, even come back to life after death, much like the Izanagi technique that used genjutsu to manipulate reality. Few understood just how powerful genjutsu could be. Naruto was confident that he would master genjutsu to its fullest. To do so, he had to perfect his chakra control and attain a certain level of proficiency in yin release. He was determined to achieve this, which is why he was now focusing on differentiating between yin and yang elements, with the yang element right in front of him. After hearing Naruto's explanation, Kurama let out a sigh and spoke, "You are right. I am indeed composed entirely of yang element, and my other half was sealed within the Shinigami along with the fourth Hokage. When you were a newborn, you lacked the capacity to handle my full power, so the fourth Hokage made the decision to divide me into two parts and seal one within you," Kurama explained. Do you want your other half back?" Naruto inquired. Hearing this, Kurama furrowed his brows and asked, "Can you do it? And why would you help me? I am the nine-tailed beast, feared throughout the world," Kurama questioned. I want to help you because if you become more powerful, it will make me more powerful as well," Naruto replied calmly. He understood that Kurama was a prideful being who didn't want to remain incomplete. By helping him, Naruto was forging a connection between them, a bond that had taken months to build. He wasn't a master of persuasive techniques like talk no jutsu, but he was confident that he would be able to befriend Kurama in time. This act of kindness was a step towards building trust between them, and it would ultimately benefit Naruto too. After hearing Naruto's response, Kurama nodded. He too had longed to complete himself, and fate had presented him with this opportunity. He couldn't outwardly express his happiness, knowing that Naruto would likely tease him about it later, but he was gradually building trust in the young boy. The act of helping him further strengthened their bond. Kurama was incredibly prideful, and asking for help was not something he wanted to do, but he eagerly anticipated the chance to become whole once more. After all, who wouldn't want to be complete? With a nod, Kurama settled into his cage position, lounging lazily as he swayed his gigantic tail behind him. Seeing that the fox didn't want to talk more, he also retreated from his mindscape and opened his eyes. As darkness began to blanket the night, the moon hung high in the sky, casting its radiant moonlight upon the ground, dispelling the shadows. When Naruto opened his eyes, it was already 8 p.m. He rose to his feet and made his way toward the inn. His stomach rumbled with hunger, and the weariness of the day weighed on him. He longed for some nourishment and a well-deserved rest. Upon his arrival at the inn, Naruto found Jiraiya waiting for him. "So you finally decided to show up, huh? I was about to come looking for you," Jiraiya remarked with a grin, pleased that Naruto had taken his training seriously. "Alright, pervy sage, let's head inside and grab some dinner." "I'm starving," Naruto replied, urging Jiraiya to follow him. Jiraiya nodded and joined Naruto as they entered the inn. Soon 5 months passed. Jiraiya and Naruto stood facing each other, a significant distance apart. Their eyes locked in a moment of silent acknowledgement. It had been 5 months since Naruto had committed himself to serious training, and the progress he had made was nothing short of extraordinary. A gentle breeze ruffled their hair, and a lone leaf descended to the ground, signifying the calm before the storm. In an instant, both Naruto and Jiraiya sprang into action, launching themselves toward each other with determination in their eyes. "Today is the day," Naruto declared as his fist hurtled toward Jiraiya. Their punches collided, and Naruto felt a sharp twinge in his abdomen. As he glanced downward, he realized that Jiraiya had landed a punch on his abdomen as well. A smirk crossed Naruto's face. The force of their impact sent them both hurtling in opposite directions, and the ground beneath them shattered under the immense power unleashed. Naruto executed a graceful backflip in midair, his landing on the ground causing it to crack under the sheer force of his impact. Simultaneously, Jiraiya touched down on the ground nearby. As they faced each other once more, the wind whipped against their faces, and they launched themselves into another blur of motion. Each collision sent shockwaves that tore apart the surrounding area. Their pure taijutsu battle raged on for a full 10 minutes, leaving devastation in its wake. Finally, with a mighty punch, Naruto struck Jiraiya so hard that when Jiraiya hit the ground, a crater nearly 10 meters in diameter was created. Jiraiya, coughing up blood, showed the toll their fierce battle had taken. Now, do you see, pervy sage? I've made my presence quite clear, Naruto declared, sporting a cocky grin on his face. Jiraiya glanced at his student and couldn't help but think, where does he come up with these lines? I'll have to use them in my next novel, hee. He grinned, his teeth stained with blood from their intense battle. Yes, you've indeed surpassed me in taijutsu, Jiraiya admitted with a hint of pride. He had thrown everything he had into this battle, and now he lay on the shattered ground, reflecting on his student's incredible transformation. In the past 5 months, Naruto had undergone a profound change that Jiraiya wouldn't have believed possible if he hadn't witnessed it himself. The young ninja standing before him now was unrecognizable, a completely different person. Naruto's character had evolved significantly during this time, exuding an aura that felt dangerous, like a ticking bomb, ready to explode at any moment. Naruto approached Jiraiya with a cocky grin on his face and crouched down beside him. Hee, pervy sage, let me help you heal a bit. Naruto placed his hand on Jiraiya's chest, and his hand emitted a soothing green glow, a result of his precise chakra control. He expertly incorporated a touch of Kurama's healing chakra into the mix. Naruto had recently learned a jutsu called Mystic Palm, not for himself, but for the others. He didn't know when this came in handy. He recognized the usefulness of this skill for the future, having requested Jiraiya to provide him with the jutsu scroll. While Naruto contemplated these thoughts, Jiraiya's injuries began to mend, and in just 3 minutes, the healing was complete. Naruto looked at the man while nodding his head, good as new. You know Naruto, you can rival Tsunade in medical ninjutsu, so why you stop on this one jutsu, Jiraiya said. Because I didn't need it, Naruto replied to him. Forget it, let's go to the inn. They both walked toward the inn. System show me the status panel, Naruto whispered in his mind, and soon a panel appeared in his mind. The night had passed, and Jiraiya was waiting for Naruto to emerge from his room. He stood outside the inn, relishing the sunlight and the brisk morning breeze. An hour had gone by, yet there was no sign of Naruto. What the hell is that brat doing? It's already morning, and he hasn't come out of his room. This is the first time he's been late for his training, Jiraiya muttered to himself. They had been journeying ceaselessly through the land of fire, changing inns and towns frequently. They avoided settling in one place for various reasons. Currently, they found themselves at a considerable distance from Konoha. Jiraiya began walking toward the room Naruto had occupied. He slid open the door and stepped inside. The room appeared ordinary, furnished with a single bed, a chair, a table, and wooden flooring and walls. It was the standard kind of accommodation found in inns. Jiraiya surveyed the room, but Naruto was nowhere to be found. As his gaze fell upon the table, he noticed a piece of paper beneath a water glass. Approaching the table, he slid the glass aside, picked up the paper, and began reading its contents. Pervy sage, I am heading to Konoha, so please don't worry about me. Enjoy your free time conducting research. Goodbye for now. Your devoted student. Jiraiya read this, black lines forming on his forehead. This brat, why did he leave so soon? We had more than 7 months, and he didn't even see me off in person. What a cruel brat, Jiraiya sighed, and with a flick of his finger, he burned the paper. Sure. Go ahead and do whatever you want. I'll be diving into my research. Jiraiya's words were accompanied by a sly grin and a nosebleed, a clear testament to his perverted tendencies. However, his confidence in Naruto's capabilities was unwavering. He had witnessed firsthand the extent of Naruto's strength and resourcefulness, and he was certain that Naruto could navigate any challenges that might come his way. Trusting in Naruto's prowess, Jiraiya sauntered off in the direction of the town, his whistling echoing through the air. 1 month and 10 days later, after Naruto left Jiraiya. Within the dense forest, towering trees spread in all directions, their massive forms casting a shadowy embrace. The sun was ascending the sky, painting the horizon with a reddish tinge as morning unfolded. Amidst this lush wilderness, a stunning waterfall captured the scene's attention. Cascading from a tremendous height, the water plummeted into the waiting lake below. Droplets danced in the air, forming intricate rainbows when caught in the sunlight. Nature's symphony and spectacle combined to create a breathtaking tableau. A youth, approximately 15.5 years old, stood atop the waterfall, his height measuring at a respectable 174 centimeters. His form was sculpted, his muscles well defined, reflecting a physique that was both lean and robust. Balanced on the precipice, he exhibited a horizontal stance, framed by the cascading waters behind him. The figure gracing the waterfall was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. He stood there, shirtless, his attire consisting solely of black pants. His feet, unadorned, connected with the rugged surface beneath him. Ha! This is fun. Naruto chuckled to himself as he gazed down at the cascading water below. Feeling a rush of excitement, he decided to take things up a notch. With determination in his eyes, he pivoted around, positioning himself to face the heavens. He had ascended to a height of 20 meters on the waterfall's surface, and as he surveyed the length of the waterfall, he estimated it stretched 150 meters from his current location. He grinned and took out a small scroll from his pocket. And poured the chakra into it. With a puff of smoke the scroll opened. And green leaves pop out from the scroll. There were thousands of leaves. He closed his eyes, and in the next moment all the leaves stick around his upper body, from torso to the neck. He opened his eyes and looked at his body. He started to move these leaves around his body, and slightly spread out his hands, and 2 Rasengan were started to form in his hands. The Odama Rasengan were formed in his hand, and these were the upgraded version of Rasengan. Their spinning speed was doubled from previous Rasengan. Naruto started to walk upward, while leaves were moving on his body, 2 Odama Rasengan in his hands, and in the opposite direction of the water stream. With his normal pace he was on the top of the waterfall. This is the pinnacle of chakra control in my opinion, Naruto said to himself and dispersed the Rasengan in his hands. Both hands had white bandages till his forearms. After dispersing Rasengan soon the leaves started to fall from his body and sway in the air. Naruto had a fox-like grin on his face. This the best I can do, he said to himself, looked down towards the lake below him. He was 170 meters high on the waterfall. With a confident grin, Naruto propelled himself from his spot, initiating a freefall. In a matter of seconds, he executed a graceful flip mid-air, and with an emphatic splash, he crashed onto the water's surface, creating a resounding impact. The force of his landing sent a massive surge of water shooting upwards, forming a towering column around him that reached up to the initial 20-meter height. After a moment, the water gradually settled, leaving Naruto standing in the midst of the now calm lake. Shaking his head vigorously, he flicked water droplets from his hair, sending them scattering in all directions. As he shakes his head, the water droplets sway in the air from his hair. In these 6 months he didn't cut his hair. His hair was a deep, blood-red hue, resembling that of his mother, Kushina. 2 distinct bangs elegantly framed his face, accentuating his features. Unlike some of his previous appearances, there were no whisker marks adorning his cheeks. With an angular face that mirrored his father's, he possessed a striking and irresistible charm, a true lady killer, in terms of looks. After purifying his bloodline, he has no genetic defects like whisker marks on his face. Image in the comment, you can have an idea how he looks. He leisurely walked out from the lake. There was not even a ripple under his feet when he walked on the water. It was just like he was not even walking on the water. Emerging from the water, he found himself standing on the lush green grass. His left hand was positioned adjacent to his chest, with only his index and middle fingers extended, forming a distinct hand sign. Wrapped in bandages that extended to his forearms, these were no ordinary coverings. They were a product of the system, infused with chakra and adorned with concealed seals engraved onto their surface. These specialized bandages were not only waterproof and dustproof but also featured a self-recovery seal. Their primary function was to shield his hands from the high-speed rotating chakra he generated. By infusing his chakra into the bandages, he had enabled a mechanism to protect himself from the potential harm caused by his rapidly spinning chakra. Naruto's rigorous practice of his compressed Rasengan, with its ultra-high-speed chakra rotation, had the potential to inflict cellular-level damage to his hands. These advanced bandages acted as a safeguard against such harm. Naruto held his hand and pulse his chakra all over his body, and soon steam come out of his body and his black pants. In just a few seconds he was dry as if never touched the water. He retrieved another scroll from his pocket and with a quick motion, he unfurled it. In a swirl of smoke, his clothing materialized, and Naruto swiftly donned his attire. He donned a black open shirt layered over a white t-shirt, paired with black pants and shinobi sandals. A black cloak extended down to his knees, completing his attire. His angular face was accentuated by two prominent bangs of dark blood-red hair that framed his features. Notably, he didn't wear a headband on his forehead. Overall he looks like a true bad boy, badass shinobi. Just one look, and girls lose their hearts to him. Now it's time to go to Konoha. Let's see how much the villager missed there. Lovely demon fox, Naruto said in the open area. Hee, it will be fun watching them, a voice heard from his mind. It was his best friend Kurama the nine-tailed demon fox. They laughed. If someone hear their laughter, they will piss themselves out of fright. A shadow glided stealthily among the trees, its movements neither too fast nor too slow but at a steady, measured pace. With each transition from one tree to the next, the figure's cloak billowed and danced in the air, while their hair swayed gracefully in response to the forest's gentle breeze. As Naruto continued on his path, he eventually reached an empty road. He touched down on the road's surface and began to walk at a steady, medium pace. The person on this journey was none other than Naruto Uzumaki himself, returning to Konoha after his extensive training with Jiraiya. The towering trees flanked either side of the road as he walked, their branches forming a natural canopy above him. Soon, he stood before a pair of massive, imposing gates, the Konoha gates, marking his arrival at the village. Naruto walked past the gates, paying little mind to the slumbering gate guards. As he passed through the gates, he sensed the presence of a sensing barrier in place. So, this is the sensing barrier. I wonder how they'll react, Naruto mused to himself with a mischievous grin. He took a few more steps, and before any Anbu or civilians could approach him, he vanished from sight, disappearing into the village. At the gate, Kotetsu gazed at the figure that had suddenly disappeared and turned to his partner, Azumo. What I saw was correct, he asked, seeking confirmation. Yes, you're right, it's him, Azumo replied with certainty. He seems very different. You go and inform Lady Hokage about his arrival, Kotetsu instructed Azumo. The latter nodded and swiftly departed from his location, making a beeline for the Hokage Tower. In a closed chamber nearby, numerous individuals were present, and a multitude of seals adorned the ground. An intricate network of wires connected these seals to a series of helmets worn by individuals seated on the floor. These helmets were equipped with advanced technology. This chamber was Konoha's security control room, primarily operated by members of the Yamanaka clan, known for their mastery of mental and sensory techniques. What I'm feeling, is this for real? One of the men spoke nervously. Yes, I sense it too, but this chakra signature does in our records, another man replied, his voice tinged with uncertainty. This chakra is unlike anything a normal human possesses. It's incredibly dense and overflowing with an insane amount of energy. It's almost like standing in the presence of a tailed beast, yet another man observed. This isn't an enemy, the man who had spoken initially pointed toward another individual. You, go and inform Tsunade-sama, he instructed. The designated man nodded and promptly exited the room. In the Hokage Tower, a woman with blonde hair and brown eyes sat on the Hokage seat, dressed in a green kimono and Hokage hat. She was engrossed in her work with stacks of papers on her desk. Some time ago, she had sensed an enormous chakra signature entering the village. It equaled the power of a four-tailed beast, and the density of that chakra was akin to a thick, slow-moving fluid, reminiscent of honey, coursing through the individual's chakra pathways. She wasn't a sensor ninja, but her Senju bloodline heritage granted her unique abilities. Despite not possessing sensory jutsu, her experience as a skilled ninja allowed her to sense his presence outside the village. What truly intrigued her was the fact that the person had not leaked even the slightest bit of chakra from his body. This indicated impeccable chakra control, possibly on par with her own or even surpassing it. She had encountered numerous individuals with astonishing chakra reserves in her lifetime, so the sheer quantity of chakra the person possessed didn't surprise her, she had anticipated it. However, what truly took her aback was the density of that chakra, the way it saturated the air, and the unmistakable vitality it exuded. It was a phenomenon she had witnessed in only one other person, her grandfather, Hashirama Senju. His chakra levels had surpassed even those of the Nine Tails, making him a legend in his own right. Despite her Senju lineage, she acknowledged that she didn't possess the same level of vitality and chakra density as the person who had just entered the village. She knew without a doubt that it was Naruto, his chakra signature was unmistakable. Soon, two guards appeared before her, kneeling on one knee to report something. Lady Hokage, we have, one of them began, but Tsunade raised her hand, silencing them. I know. You can go now, she said, giving them permission to depart. The guards nodded and vanished in a swirl of leaves. In the evening, as the sun began its descent on the horizon, a warm orange hue bathed the sky. A gentle breeze swept through the air, carrying a faint chill with it. Naruto stood atop a high pole, gazing down at the entire village. His celestial-looking red eyes roamed over the lush greenery of the village, taking in the breathtaking scenery. The anime and manga didn't do justice to the beauty of this place, he mused aloud. He inhaled deeply, savoring the purity of the air, the clear sky above, and the sweet fragrance of the sakura trees. This is like heaven on earth, Naruto whispered, utterly captivated by the enchanting vista before him. In the middle of the street, a boy with brown hair, black eyes, and a slight green jacket over gray pants, adorned with black shinobi sandals and a long neck scarf, stood still. He was Konohamaru Sarutobi. Konohamaru's gaze was fixed on a mysterious figure standing on a high pole some distance away. The man was cloaked in all black, his face concealed by the sun's shadow as he looked down upon the village. His red eyes bore a faint, ethereal glow within the shadows, and the sun cast its protective rays behind him. Konohamaru couldn't help but be awestruck by the godly figure before him. This image would forever be etched in his heart. He had never experienced anything quite like this before. The man's aura exuded dominance, and in the next instant, their eyes met. The man's red eyes locked onto Konohamaru's black ones. It felt as though he was laid bare before this enigmatic figure, as if his very soul was being read like an open book. Then, in the blink of an eye, the figure vanished, leaving Konohamaru both amazed and mystified. The figure suddenly appeared right in front of Konohamaru, causing the boy's heart to skip a beat from the sudden encounter. When he looked at the person's face, a memory from the past came rushing back. It was his big brother, Naruto. But Naruto had changed so much. Naruto extended his hand and gently shook Konohamaru's shoulder, snapping him out of his stupor. Big brother Naruto, is that really you? Konohamaru finally managed to speak, his voice filled with disbelief and joy. Yes, of course, it's me, Naruto replied with a warm smile on his face. He had always held a special fondness for this kid. There was something about Konohamaru that had made Naruto see him as more than just another villager. Perhaps it was the fact that Konohamaru didn't view him like the others did, or maybe they both saw each other as big and little brothers. Over the years, their bond had grown stronger, especially after Naruto merged with his memories and feelings. While before he had simply seen Konohamaru as a kid who followed him around, he had since come to recognize the boy's potential. Naruto had even taught Konohamaru the Rasengan. When he had returned to the village this time, Konohamaru was the first person he had encountered, and for some reason, Naruto felt an even deeper connection to him. Konohamaru wasn't just the third Hokage's grandson to Naruto, he was a person deserving of recognition in his own right. Konohamaru gazed at Naruto for a full minute, his admiration evident. You look so much cooler than before, big brother, he exclaimed. Can you train me? I've been waiting for you all this time. The academy doesn't teach anything, and you know I'm the most powerful student there, hee. And you're here 6 months early, not that I'm complaining, but I'm so happy. Now you can train me. Konohamaru excitedly poured out all his thoughts. His trust in Naruto was unwavering, and that's why he had no hesitation when Naruto appeared before him. Naruto affectionately ruffled Konohamaru's hair. Of course, your big brother is the coolest, right? And yes, I'll train you, Naruto replied with a cocky grin, and in Konohamaru's eyes, he looked even cooler. The young boy practically had stars in his eyes. You can head home now. I've got some work to do, but I'll meet you in the evening. Make sure you come prepared, Naruto instructed. Konohamaru nodded enthusiastically and took off, eager for the evening's training session with his big brother. Naruto disappeared from view once more, his thoughts turning inward. Maybe I could have my own trusted and powerful team. I don't need many, just 2 or 3 would suffice, he contemplated to himself.